everybody and welcome to another Toys Tirades. We're going with disability for this one, physical not mental health. If you want to see my mental health one, here's a link.
Hi everyone, I'm Katharina.
My name's Ruth. On YouTube I'm Ruth Fiona.
This is Katelynn.
Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to another episode of Toys Tirades.
Hey guys, it's Mackenzie Club, aka Kenzie Chaos. She's back again.
Hiya.
My name is Becks.
Hi guys, I'm Becks, recording a video for Toys Tirades.
My name's Kaylee. This is new to me doing the video in.
Physical disability then. I think there are a lot of people that don't fully understand what it is to be physically disabled.
This is rare. It's like not everybody has this, but some people do.
There's such a huge umbrella when it comes to cerebral palsy because there's so many different types and it affects everybody completely individually.
So luckily for myself, I've never actually had to deal with any physical disability.
The particular disability that I am going to talk to you about this week it's kind of a tricky one for me because while technically you can have disabilities relating to this, I don't know if what I have would be classified as one, and I don't want to step on any toes. I don't want to do that.
It's quite a hard topic to talk about, and for me it's actually quite personal.
Disability is a bit of a mixed bag really, because sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, sometimes you can misconstrue disability. I've known people with physical disabilities and emotional, I don't know, would you call it emotional disability or would you call it like in your mind? My topic of conversation is invisible disabilities.
I have something called fibromyalgia, which is an invisible illness. It's an invisible disability.
And my channel talks a lot about dyspraxia. I've got all the formal definitions down there, which is a disability that I have, a learning difficulty.
Vision. And I'm not incredibly visually impaired, but my vision is bad enough that it does definitely impact on my life, and in a fairly negative way.
My grandpa had dementia, and it was hard because I saw him slowly lose his memory.
For instance, just because a person can walk doesn't mean it doesn't cause them a lot of pain to do so.
Walking hurts sometimes, but I'm lucky enough not to be afflicted with something chronically. So this video is actually me hearing the opinions of those that are and how they have to deal with the challenges that they face.
Luckily for me, it doesn't affect my way to communicate. It just affects my muscles and mostly the left side of my body.
ME, also known as CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. ME, I don't know the long words to that, it's long and complicated and a mouthful. And then there's fibromyalgia.
We categorize into two, which is permanently, which is for everlasting, and the other one is temporarily, which you have a cast and you're in the hospital.
It affects your coordination. Developmental coordination disorder is also like a name used for it sometimes.
It affects me differently on different days. There's some days where I'm totally fine, just like everybody else. And there's other days where I am in agonising pain and the fatigue is absolutely crushing, so I can't do anything at all. It came about on my 42nd day of living. Basically I stopped breathing, and of course it starved the oxygen to the part of the brain that deals with sort of muscles and things like that. My twin sister, who was obviously born at the same time as me, she had 2 brain hemorrhages, and amazingly she's like fully able-bodied, able to get around.
You can't stop it happening.
I personally am quite lucky. I don't really suffer with anything too serious. I do have an issue with my thyroid, which it overproduces a hormone. I have to take meds for it, and eventually they want to remove it, which means I won't have a thyroid, which means I'll be on meds for the rest of my life. But it's a small price to pay, because otherwise if you have an overactive thyroid, then you could end up with brittle bones, or your heart could be weaker because of it.
He started to lose it after my grandma died, and it was horrible seeing him just disappear slowly.
The symptoms are, how to explain it? 1 minute.
Just flares up for no reason. So getting people to understand that is quite difficult.
Chronic fatigue. Now, people just think that's just tiredness. What I mean by chronic fatigue is you have a shower, takes all your energy to the point you have to lay on the bed in a towel wrapped up for about an hour before you even have the energy to move on to the next task. That's not normal.
Sometimes it's you know, when I've overdone it, I'll know what it is I've done it and why I'm tired.
We get through it the best we can. I've got a really supportive husband. Well, now husband. Hi, Matt.
They think it's a very black and white thing where you should be able to see what's wrong with the person.
As I was growing up, I would kind of envy my sister in a way, because obviously, you know, I really wanted to be like her and be able to like run around the playground, and over the years, sort of as I became an adolescent, that kind of depressed me, I think, because, you know, I felt like my disability was holding me back, and, you know, I was different to everybody else, and actually I didn't want to be.
And I have been gone through temporary disability. When I was 6, I broke my hand, my arm mostly, from playing too much of the monkey bars, because I was really hyperactive.
Makes you clumsy maybe, like me, and just your day-to-day life, like cooking. I struggle with sports, and you can struggle, or it can actually feel like it's not possible, but it is possible. It just takes different coping mechanisms and practice.
So I think in more recent years, watching my vision get worse is kind of, it's really been, you know, pardon the pun, an eye-opener for me.
It affects my articulation. I struggle, even though people say I'm very articulate, to word things, and often offend people in that way. It's quite emotional for me. Like, I get oversensitive, overtired and stuff like that, and struggle with socialising.
I'm under 30, let's put it that way. And, you know, otherwise I shouldn't, you know, I get to hear that I shouldn't be sick, I shouldn't be ill, oh, I should just try this diet, I should try that diet, I should lose weight, I should do, you know, avoid dairy, go vegan, I should try supplements, I should try crazy stuff that's just, you know, none of it works.
See that say they can't walk, in order for you to accept that they're entitled to that disabled seat on the bus, or entitled to that wheelchair, or whatever have you.
So, you know, people will see me one day with a stick, one day without, and think I'm a big lying fake. But actually, no, get your facts right. You don't know me. You don't know what we have to deal with each day.
Unfortunately, some disabilities or health issues are not that easy to deal with. Some people end up needing to have therapy of some kind, or be on meds for the rest of their life, or, you know, other such things, like people need their houses adapted for them if they've got like a severe physical disability, which I think is really crap, but it's good that there are places out there that you can go to get those kind of things.
And now I've even decided to sort of have carers in to help me in the mornings, in the evenings as well, sort of with my personal care and helping me put my pyjamas on at night.
I don't have anything like cataracts or clouded vision. I'm not partially sighted. I can, you know, both my eyes work, they just don't work very well. Everything's kind of blurry, like, think depth of field, I guess. Everything's like frickin' f1.8.
Kind of reminding me that I shouldn't be doing too much, or else I might break my arm or something like that. And going through that process of repairing it is really painful, especially when you're like 6 years old.
A sense of humour as well, like I have one, but it's quite difficult sometimes to understand things and taking things in. I struggle with multitasking. I feel like I just can't do it. Concentrating when there's friends around and I'm chatting. If there's anything going on, I have to have complete silence, like no one in the room. Otherwise, I will start typing what they're saying, or just not understand what I'm doing.
Then you get the burning sensations. You get the stabbing pain that comes out of nowhere that makes you jump out of bed. The restless legs. The worst one is the temperature control for me.
There's nothing that you can do about it. and it's horrible seeing somebody that you've known your entire life slowly fade away and not realise who you are.
I know it could be so much worse, and I'm incredibly grateful that I personally have access to things that can allow me to continue living my life as if I didn't have a visual problem.
I don't think it's good to be ignorant about these things. I mean, people think that disabilities are just to do with like old people and pensioners. It's like, that's just not true.
It's really horrible because they've still got all these memories, yet they can't remember the simplest things, and it's frustrating for the people around them, but I can't imagine how frustrating it is for them because they want to remember, but they can't.
Often they will put pensioners on antidepressants because of the amount of pills they're on, or because they can't do as much with their life and all sorts of stuff like that.
The reason why I haven't spoke out about it before is because of the judgment it comes with. The stigma of having these disabilities. I look fine. Well, actually I've got a bad pelvis from 2 SBD pregnancies that were close. So I'm still recovering from that.
It's affected me a lot in the workplace because anything practical, especially with the public, is noticeable because it comes with anxiety as well. So,
But it's a much bigger thing. There's a much broader spectrum in reality.
Power of the mind is a wonderful thing, but if you honestly think I haven't tried yet, and if my doctor, who has gone to medical school and knows more about things than, you know, a Facebook search or a Google, if he doesn't think, you know, that it's going to change, then it's not going to change.
When you're a photographer and when you live your life at, you know, just falling in love with everything that you can see and appreciating the visuals, I find that vision is definitely something that a lot of people take for granted, and knowing that my eyesight used to be so good, like crystal clear, and then just got really bad over the years, is definitely something that scares me.
And so she had to go into a care home, and she eventually just deteriorated, and the spinal cord got slimmer and slimmer and slimmer until she was basically paralysed from the neck down.
Disability sucks, but it doesn't have to define who you are. Just because you have a disability or you suffer with a disability, it doesn't make it your whole being.
Some days I don't walk with my stick because I'm not going to let this define me. If I feel okay, I'm not going to use it.
Now I'm sort of 27, I've sort of stopped thinking like that completely.
And in my opinion, if you are feeling down and your like physical disability permanently, I suggest you to join some social groups. Don't be with friends that, you know, mock you by your appearance or bully you socially online.
don't have anything anyway, or oh, you don't have it seriously enough, and they'll just expect you to be able to do that thing, like, oh, just get over it, and oh, everyone's clumsy, or everyone has this, and they'll just make it out like when people generalise anxiety and just say that everyone has anxiety just because everyone can get feelings of anxiety.
Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. As you can tell, my attention spans are not very good.
I've gone through a phase where I've been very angry at certain people. I've lost people along the way that don't understand it, because with ME and fibro you get to a point where you get so unreliable with meeting people. You get an anxiety that comes over you because you could feel fine, you get on the bus, you've done that bit of travelling, and then by then you're wiped out and you're ready to go home to bed.
The truth was that during that I didn't cope. I didn't at all cope. I really struggled because it wasn't just that I had on my plate. I had exam stress, and I was going through counselling at that point as well because of my anxiety, and I had been self-harming, and I wasn't coping at all. And so I can't tell anybody how to cope because I didn't.
And the way that I think now is like, the more help that I can get, the better it will be, because it will save my energy to do something really cool like the next day or the next week or something. Because the strain on my muscles day to day is really, really quite intense. So if somebody can come in and take that pressure away from me, then that's brilliant.
I think there needs to be a lot more education on it.
Vision is definitely something that I think we should all appreciate more. The ability to see, the ability to just look at stuff, to watch stuff, to know that that you can. This is gonna go on YouTube. It's a visual medium.
So other people's attitudes towards disability and physical disability, especially also invisible illnesses, are really quite insane. I also had a massive shock to the system, and I used to be a horse rider. I used to really enjoy horse riding, and then 7 years ago had a bad accident and broke a little bit of my spine.
To cope, as well as awareness, I have kind of special cutlery and stuff that I use for cooking. I also, what else do I do? I make sure I get a lot of sleep. I have cod liver oil because it is meant to help your brain, omega-3, 6 and 9.
I recently got contact lenses, which I'm still getting used to, but it was just so nice that for the first time in 12 years I could walk out without my glasses on and I could see everything. I didn't have to walk right over to something and look really weird in public by squinting at it just to see if I could actually make out what it said.
I fully accept, rather, my disability now, and you know, I'm happy with myself. I'm able to sort of get out in my new wheelchair, which is rather snazzy. It's purple, which says it all, really.
I was lucky because I didn't get an awful lot of symptoms. I think that's another deceptive part of having problems like that, is that sometimes you don't have an awful lot of symptoms. Because I didn't suffer with very major symptoms, it was very shocking to me to go to the doctor and for the doctor to go, well, you need to be on pills because your hormone levels are through the roof and you could suffer with issues with your eyes, and you know, you could have thyroid eye disease and Graves' disease and all this sort of stuff, which even now I don't really fully understand.
In a way, this sounds so heartless and callous, but I feel relieved, like really relieved. And it's for the most selfish of reasons, but it's because it means I don't have to deal with it anymore. And that's such a heartless thing to say, but I'm just glad that they aren't here anymore, because
and accepting it now, because it's part of my life. I have to accept it. I have to look at ways I can make it better for the kids' sake. And yes, the kids should know that I've got these disabilities. I've got an 8-year-old stepdaughter that some people say they should see what it does. She does see what it does. But I don't want her to live that every day like I may have in the past. I want her to grow up thinking Mummy did her best, Mummy stayed positive, Mummy tried, and I'm going to be like Mummy when I'm older.
I spent 3 months in a wheelchair and was then, you know, learning to walk again and things like that, and, you know, my life plan got shoved up by a year. People with other disabilities that are, you know, physically limiting and things like that, we're actually incredibly good at figuring ways around things. And it's very frustrating when people try to treat us like we don't, you know how to do things. We're perfectly capable of advocating for ourselves.
Having contact lenses and now having a live view, so much more helpful. Thank you, technology. Thank you, science, for bringing this to me and others, but mostly me. I mean, oh God, I'm such an ass.
I use to-do lists for everything. I have my diary right next to me and my phone. I put little notes on the notes section, shopping lists and anything to remember. It's kind of become a bit of a crutch though, so I can't remember anything unless I've got it down.
I'm glad that they aren't here anymore, because it means I don't have to deal with it, but it also means that they don't have to deal with it and they're at peace and they aren't in any pain anymore. God, I'm a wreck. Why is this the most emotional video to film?
I'm a survivor. Anyone that knows me, I'm a survivor. I fight whatever it is. So That's acceptance with it. Now it's a case of living with it.
I'm just taking a day at a time, I think. But that is how my cerebral palsy affects me and has affected me in the past. And I hope I've sort of explained my changes in the way that I think, from going from, oh my god, you know, I'm different to everybody else, to, okay, I'm different, but, you know, let's deal with it a day at a time.
It's still quite scary because I haven't had any procedures yet, but the fact is that people go through worse, and there's not a lot else to say, really.
It is possible to adapt to these things. It is, but it's hard to adapt to them. And there are so many different adaptations that you have to make, and things that you have to change, and you've just got to do that to the individual.
Don't do the whole pity thing. It's really very, very irritating.
That's my opinion.
They give you loads of advice, you can ask questions. I have just gone for a needs assessment for uni for disabled students allowance, so hopefully they can put little things in place.
But tell you what, you can be confident in yourself. Do what you like to do, and I think that will help you to succeed in life, make you happy, and look forward to the future.
You can have two people with the same thing, but they can both cope with it differently. Identity, I'm trying to get that back, slowly getting there. Doing my writing again now, but it's going to come one step at a time. I accept that.
Look after your eyes, man. They're sensitive and they're incredibly useful, and they need looking after. Make sure you're eating lots of carrots, and make sure you get them tested regularly.
People see, you know, people with disabilities and go, oh well, at least our lives isn't as bad as theirs. It's like, excuse me? Actually, most of us are fine, you know?
The only advice that I give to anybody who is dealing with a disability or dealing with people who has a disability is just be there for them. My biggest mistake was not wanting to be around them because I didn't like seeing them the way they were, and that was really bad for me. That was my fault. But honestly, all I have to say is be there for them. They need you just as much as you need them.
Pretty sure I was born with it or I was very young, but I was only diagnosed December 2014 at 19, so I'm 20 now. I was telling my flatmate about everything and being very kind of needy, relying on her, getting her to do jobs that actually I could do and using it as an excuse.
It would be easy if everywhere were flat. It would be great if everywhere had ramped access, and that is something that society needs to address rather than let themselves be inspired by us to, you know, think we're so great and tell us how amazing we are. Why don't you be inspired to change curb drops? Why don't you be inspired to put ramps in everywhere?
If I have the radioactive treatment, I can't be around kids for 3 weeks, which is fun because I work in the nursery.
I'm not going to tell someone every time I'm flaring up that I'm flaring up, because I'm just going to be that negative person I don't want to be. So if you're a struggling family out there with ME, fibro, look for help. Don't be ashamed to reach out. We should have done it sooner.
I'd like to thank everybody for taking part. I appreciate that this topic isn't always easy for some people to talk about. I also appreciate that for some people, having to deal with the problems that you face every day and the fact that you can't do what others take for granted may be hard to face. I really appreciate your honesty and some of the things you've had to say, and I'm sure that it will go a long way to helping other people understand your perspective.
One day something's going to be suitable for me.
That's all from me. Signing out. Bye-bye.
There you go. Share the love. Mwah.
Have an excellent day or whatever you're doing, and see you soon. Bye!
I hope you found that interesting, and I'm sure you shall see me in another TOYA'S tirade very soon. Take care.
Thanks a million for watching, everyone. I have been DSM, and you guys have been watching TOYA'S Tirades.
You've got to be the person who's going to be there for them when nobody else is.
I look forward to watching these videos and everyone else's disabilities. Bye!
I don't care what people think about you. That's my message to anyone. What does it matter what people think? You know, what is it going to achieve? Nothing. So just go be happy.